students. Welcome to our session today. I am your instructor, CPA Ringo Frederick, and a continuation of what you were doing earlier on. In our today's session is a concept that we'll be looking at today. Is very interesting, very practical, and one of the concepts that were introduced in our course simply to assist us as accountants. Not only just to understand the financial part of it, but also when it comes to the concepts to do the project. So, in our class today, we'll be talking about project management. It's a very vital area that each and every business person, each and every accountant should always possess, as much as if it's not a wide knowledge of it, but you must be having a knowledge when it comes to project management. Simply because in our day-to-day activities, as in the work of finance and of course in accounting, you might face scenarios whereby you want to kind of deal with a project-based business, whereby this business is purely based on projects, or rather maybe you're looking at more so for NGOs. Specifically NGOs, you'll find that many a times are always funded, and they are always funded based on projects that they are undertaking. So whenever you're having such a scenario, how will we go about it? And that's a concept that I want us to analyze and be able to look at it on a wider perspective. So in our session under project management, you will find that I'll just highlight some of the key elements that you must always be having at the back of your mind, which will assist us to understand the whole concept, which will assist us to understand the whole concept of what? The whole concept of project management, which will assist us to understand the whole concept of project management. So, these are the main areas that we must always tend to have. I'm going to categorize them into this bit. So these are the main areas that we must always be having at the back of our mind. Number one, we must understand project management concept. Project management concept. Project management concept. Or rather concepts. We must also be able to understand the characteristics of our projects. Characteristics of our project. I'm just giving you an overview of, by the time we are done with this topic, what you must always be having at your fingertips, not only for exams but also to assist us outside here. The importance of projects, importance of projects. Number 4, talk about aspect of features of projects and baseline surveys. Features of our projects. Features of our projects. Features of our projects. And baseline surveys. And baseline surveys. And baseline surveys. Talk about the aspect of project life cycle. Project life cycle, very important. Also be able to understand project planning and organizing. Project planning and organizing. Project planning and organizing. Talk about key other element. These are project resources and costing. Project resources. Project resources and costing. Project resources and costing. As well as project completion and evaluation. Project completion. Project completion and evaluation. Project completion and evaluation. So by the time you are done with this topic, it will be very important that as much as it is very wide, it will be very important that we understand some of the highlighted items that Mwalimu has indicated for us here. Some of the highlighted items that Mwalimu has indicated for us here, it will be very key and very important that by the end of this topic, make sure that you have some concept in relation to the highlighted items here. So for which in this case, we'll be dissecting each one of them. Each and every one of them, we'll be dissecting them separate. Some we are going to combine, probably for the purpose of time and everything. So this is what you are going to do. We start with the first concept, that is a project management concept. And a project management concept, it will be very key for us to understand what a project is. When we're talking of project management, basically what will it entail, as well as some of the concepts that you must always tend to have whenever we are talking of what? Project management. So to do that, we start with the first one. We start with the first one, that is of course project management concepts. So we start with the first one, project management concept. Basically the highlighted items is what Mwalimu has mentioned that we will be looking at. So let's start with the project management concepts. Project management concepts. Project management concepts. Project management concepts. So that is what I want us to start with. For the purpose of exams, this concept is very common and very key. Excuse. So looking at project management concept, my good student, first of all, I want us to be on the same page. I want us to be on the same page, and let us understand, first of all, what a project is. Anytime you're talking of project, basically, what do we mean? Don't take a project like in a political term. I haven't mentioned anyone, right? Because majority of you normally tend to say, this is a project of this person, this is a project of this person. Even in that context, what does it entail? The aspect of project. Meaning that anytime you're doing your project, these are something unique that you're doing it for a specific time and purpose, right? A very simple term to understand what a project is. So basically, it's always a temporary effort to create a unique product, service, or result. Service or result. Now, when you're looking at it in terms of business perspective, not the other projects that you know. So in this context, basically, anytime you talk of a project, we normally tend to look at these are just a temporary effort to create a unique product, service, or result. Meaning that this something is very, it's not, is kind of, it's a unique item, right? It's a unique item. So a project basically has a definite start and end. It will always have a definite start, and it also have a definite start and end. So you'll find that at this point, that is what a project is in a very brief manner that you can look at it. I'm doing this specifically for a certain purpose. When that purpose has been achieved, of course, that will be the end of that project. That is what, in a very simple manner, what you can say what a project is. Now, what about project management? Project management. Therefore, what is project management? By now, I know you are very familiar with management. And many a times, or rather what we've always been looking at, management in terms of what? Management in terms of business perspective, yeah? So you'll find that project management is quite different from what we've been understanding, or rather with what we are used to. So the same concept applies, and at this point, it's only that I'll be looking at a specific item that you want to do, managing that specific item, right? So in a very brief manner, we can only say that project management basically is the application of process, talk about methods, skills, knowledge, and experience to achieve a specific project objectives. In a very simple manner, Mwalimu is repeating that statement again. We are saying that project management is the application of processes, methods, skills, knowledge, and experience to achieve specific project objectives according to the project acceptance criteria within agreed parameters. This is what Mwalimu is saying in a very simple manner. If I can put it down, that is the application, or rather this is the application of processes. Basically, this is the application of processes, application of processes, application of process, of course, methods, talk about skills, knowledge and experience, knowledge and experience, knowledge and experience, knowledge and experience, to achieve specific project objectives, to achieve specific project objectives, to achieve specific project objectives, to achieve specific project objectives. That is, of course, according to the project acceptance criteria with their grade what? With their grade parameters. Of which, as at the end of the day, you'll find that project management has final deliverables that are constrained to a finite timescale and budget. So whenever we're talking of deliverables, basically, this is what you need to achieve as at the end of this case. I can kind of come up and say that these are the outputs that you're having. So we are saying that each and every project management will have a specific deliverable, whereby you are saying that project management has final deliverables that are constrained to a finite timescale and budget. And that's why you're talking of project budget, which must be funded on a specific project. So now you'll find that a key factor that distinguishes project management from just management is that it has this final deliverable and a finite time span. Unlike other management, which is always ongoing process. You'll find like in a business perspective, whenever we're talking of management, we figure it out, and we talked about it where we mentioned that this is always an ongoing process. But for project management, it has a finite time. We are saying that it has a finite time span, whereby when that time span has elapsed, of course, as at the end of the day, I have to give my deliverables. This is an objective that if we achieve that objective, that's the end of that project, compared to the normal management, which you normally look at it as what? As an ongoing process. So you'll find that, again, this is also what we distinguish project management from other management, from the normal management that we are used to. That's why I say that there's a bit, or rather there is a distinction between what we are talking about as project management and the normal management that you normally tend to do, to know. Now, after understanding the whole basic background of what a project is, and of course project management, in that case, that will take us to one key element, and that is our focus of today's class, and that is the aspect to do with project management concepts. Project management concept, that is the aspect to do with what? Project management concepts. So we are talking of project management concepts. So what are the concepts of project management then? What are the concepts of project management? So my good students, what we should understand at this point is that these process groups will include the aspect of us initiating for this project. That is always the first stage. We'll always be talking about aspect of planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, as well as closing the project. So these are the main concepts that we'll always be looking at anytime you're talking of project management. Basically, there's that aspect of initiating the project, first of all. I'll have to initiate the project. So talk about initiating the project. Number two, we'll be talking about aspect of planning for the same. Planning for the project. Number three, we'll be talking about executing the project. Number four, talk about monitoring and controlling. Monitoring and controlling. Number five, talk about aspect of closing the project. You can term it as stages, you can term it as concepts, but each and every project will entail the following. There's that aspect of us initiating the project. Then after you've initiated the project, there's this other bit of us planning for the project. We need to execute. After you plan, of course, there's that aspect of execution of the project. Allow to monitor and control. And remember, this is always bound to the resources attached to that project. And that's how you were talking about what? The aspect to do the project budgeting, right? So you'll find that at that point, we'll also be talking of now closing the project. After we've achieved whatever that you wanted to achieve, now we will close what? We will close this project. Definite, or rather finite time span. Finite time span. That is what you talked about. And to do all this, my good students, what you'll note is that to do all these cases, my good students, what you'll understand is that this process basically you'll have to have knowledge in areas which will include aspect to do with the integration of some certain concepts, talk about time cost, talk about the aspect to do with the quality, talk about human resource, we'll be having communication, talk about risks, talk about procurement and stakeholder management. And it's a wide concept, which again, this is a whole different bit which we'll be analyzing at it probably later on, not in CPA, right? But it's a whole, you must just have knowledge in various cases. It's like management accounting. You'll find like in management accounting, that's why you'll find that many firms, they normally tend to employ financial accountants many a times, but not management accountants, The same case will apply with that. For you to be a good project manager, you'll find that you'll have to encompass a knowledge in various fields. You'll have to have certain specific skills which will assist you to make sure that this project has been what? This project has been achieved as it was required. So, at this point, looking at the steps, my good students, for us to have a very good project, what are some of the main concepts in relation to the concepts? Stages of us preparing our very good team for project, or rather in management of project. Number one key element that you must always tend to have, we must have a well-defined project goal. A well-defined project goal and objectives. So talk about well-defined project goals and objectives. 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 That is one thing that you must always tend to have. And this principle is at the top of our list for good reason. This is simply because the goals you set for your project will play a critical role in its success or failure in projects. When you set your project objectives before work begins, you, your client, and your team are all on the same page, and future misunderstandings can be avoided. That is always very key, because you'll find that at the end of the day, all of you are humans. And many a times, things normally tend to change. So we've started a project without a clear understanding. So in future, we might want to blame one another that you're not doing this, that you're not doing this, simply because you're not set what? You're not defined your project goals and objectives. So you'll find that it will be very key for us to, step number one in the concepts, or rather in the steps, we should be looking at it in terms of what? We should have a well-defined project goals and objectives, which is very, very important. And of course, these goals must always be realistic. You must set realistic goals, right? You must be aspect of very clear on what you want to achieve, as well as these goals must be measurable. These goals must be measurable. I know when you're talking about that, you're kind of recalling the concepts of SMART, right? You're looking for the aspect to do with aspect of SMART. You know, whenever you're talking of that, one thing that will click at the back of our mind is the concept to do with SMART, setting SMART goals, which is very key, So you'll find that at this point, all these goals must be realistic, must be clear, must be time-bound, must be measurable. Very key concept that you must always be having at the back of your mind. Number two, my good students, what you must have in mind is we should define our deliverables. Define deliverables. Define deliverables. Define your deliverables. That is also another key concept that we must have in mind. So you'll find that at this point, probably just for us to be very clear so that we should not confuse deliverables and goals, because maybe we can argue that they are almost the same, but we find that they are quite different. Whenever we're talking of goals and whenever we're talking of what? Deliverables, they are kind of quite different here. Because deliverables, basically, you'll find that we are looking at it in terms of any unique and verifiable results to perform, or rather verifiable results or capability to perform a service that is produced to complete a process, or rather a phase of a project. So you're looking at unique and verifiable results. These are a unique and verifiable results. Unique and verifiable results. Unique and verifiable results. Unique and verifiable results. Deliverables. Now, after we do have that case, you'll also find that it will be very important for us to have clear team roles and responsibilities. Number three, we should have clear team roles and responsibilities. And this will be the work of the project manager. This will be the work of the project manager to make sure that all this has been set. Whereby you'll find that at this point, few things cause more confusion and tension on a team than a lack of clarity around roles and responsibilities. So when a project team doesn't know what their roles are or how those roles relate to other people on the team, you'll find that boundaries are crossed and unnecessary conflicts arise. So such thing should be avoided by setting clear team roles and responsibilities. Very key to note that. Then, of course, we should create a strategy for initiation and execution. We should create a strategy in that you're not just going blindfolded in whatever that you want to achieve. So you must set strategy. Create a strategy for initiation and execution. Create a strategy for initiation. Create a strategy for initiation and execution. So you'll find that this is always very key. This is always very key. So when you are talking of creating a strategy for initiation and execution, this is one of the most important key elements that, again, you must focus on. I'm glad to mention that your Mwalimu is actually have been involved in various aspects of setting a project strategy. So if at all you require such an assistant when it comes to doing your project practically, not for class, practically, of course you can always contact Mwalimu. Mwalimu will assist you in relation to that. So you'll find that creating a strategy on this case, this will include all the preliminary work that must be done before and other project activities that can take place. Preliminary work can be broken down basically into 4 categories, namely the aspect of building a business case for the project, conducting feasibility project reports, involving project stakeholders, as well as creating a project initiation document, which we normally term it as what? PID. We normally term it as a PID. project initiation document. It's only that for us, I could have gone deeper into project. It's only that for our case, yes, as much as you're bound to look at very few concepts, but Mwalimu is also trying to go deep into this so that we should approach it in a manner that we are not doing this only for exams, in a manner that we are not doing this only for what? Only for exams, but rather to get that clear concepts as well. So there's also another key element that later on we'll be looking at it whenever we'll be looking at it later on. Another term for project we normally term lower. Basically lower this letter of award after, of course, I've requested for funding, and in this case we'll find that after they have accepted this funding, of course, I'll be given what is known as what letter of award, which again we'll be looking at this deeply later on. So in this case, you'll find that after we consider this project initiation and a preliminary work, which the concepts we've mentioned there, now we go to project execution, right? Project execution. Remember, still that is under creating a strategy for initiation and what? Execution. Whereby number one, we say that preliminary work can be broken down into 4 categories. That is, of course, building a business case, conducting feasibility, involving project stakeholders, creating a project initiation document. What about project execution? This other bit known as project execution is what most people basically have in mind when they think about project management. It usually starts with a project kickoff meeting to officially begin the project. This is when you share the vision and plan for the project. You delegate tasks to team members, send everyone on their way to get things done. And you'll find that during the execution phase, make sure that there is a plan in place to document errors, correction, and other changes. So you'll find that, though we'll be looking at that deeper later on, I'm just giving you a guide on what you should be expecting when you're talking about what? Creating a strategy for initiation and what? And execution. Then we have number 5 element that you must always put in mind. Know your numbers. Do careful. This is the aspect of budgeting. Do careful budgeting and scheduling. Budgeting. Because this is an area that can mess your project up completely. If at all you miss something little on the same which you didn't account for, you'll find that this is an area that you can mess your project. You can mess your project big time. So you'll find that every project and every project manager has limited resources. It almost goes without saying that you need to budget your financial resources carefully. Give yourself some margin for unexpected expenses, and of course, take reasonable measure to save costs during the course of your project. Because maybe at this point you can set your project, yes. If you limit yourself to a point that in the event that maybe I'm having an unforeseen event coming, and you hadn't anticipated for that, you hadn't put a provision for the same, you'll find that you might end up messing your resources when it comes to budget. And that's why it's always advisable that anytime you're doing this project, of course, have a margin. Have a certain margin which will cater for these unexpected events which might arise. So you'll find that budgeting is also very key. Number 6 element you can talk about, identify priorities and milestones ahead of time. So you should be able to forecast. You should be able to do what? You should be able to forecast. You should be able to forecast. You should be able to forecast. Talk about establish a means of accountability and responsibility. You create a communication plan. Be transparent. Do risk assessment. Monitor and measure progress. That is in regard to closing. So all these are the components that you'll be expected to have a know. So to this point, my good student, that was just aspect of us introducing you to the whole concept of what project entails and the project concepts, which we'll be looking at it later on. So at this point, thank you so much, guys, and let us meet in our next class, whereby we will be looking at either characteristics of a project. So to this point, guys, thank you so much, and let us meet in our next class. Thank you.